I've often said that total ignorance is a very powerful tool, and it also has its specifics and nuances. It's powerful when you know where and how to use it correctly. Otherwise, it will work against you and ruin everything. In other words, it has its own usage instructions, which are actually very specific. I can confidently say that the vast majority misuse this tool and devalue it. I hope that after listening to this video, men will no longer make the same foolish mistakes. If she ignores me, I'll ignore her so much that she'll doubt her own existence. If she ignores me, I'll forget her forever. You'll hear these kinds of thoughts from problematic women. If even hearing this fills you with fear, it means you're not ready to ignore anyone at this stage. So just turn off this video and move on to the next one. Turn it on when you're ready. I must also emphasize once again that total ignorance cannot be applied if you have children together. Why? Because you'll need to contact each other because of the children. You can't ignore that. Even if you try to ignore it, it will work against you. Therefore, in such situations, it's necessary to choose the right level of distancing and maintain that distance, which is practically much more difficult than simply ignoring. Let's move on to today's topic and start with what separation is and what it entails. Separation is not an instantaneous act. It's a process stretched over time and space with its stages and regularities. What does this mean? It means that the feeling of losing someone, sadness, nostalgia, and doubts don't appear immediately. They emerge after a certain period. For example, you had a relationship with a woman for several years, and during this time you think something must have remained with her. How can she just take it, put a period, and leave? Let me explain. When someone is left, in this case you lose everything all at once. It breaks you from the inside. You start recalling your shared pleasant episodes in your mind. You develop endless associations related to her. But the one who leaves and goes away doesn't experience this at that moment. So when a woman leaves you, or when you're on the verge of separation, you're sitting at home with a pale face, trying to find some wise advice on the internet. Meanwhile, the woman is chatting very calmly and sweetly with her friend, happily strolling, joking, and having fun as if nothing special is happening. In general, she's in a good mood, which slightly deteriorates when she sees you. Why does it deteriorate? Because laughing and cheering at a wake is not appropriate. She's simply adhering to the norms of etiquette. I understand that it's very tempting to think that the woman is also deeply affected by your separation, that she's staying up nights because of it, just hiding it from you. She doesn't want to show you her weakness. But that's a lie. The feeling of loss overwhelms you, not her. He understands that you are just a message away. If he simply writes to you, you are ready to rush to him immediately, forget everything, and continue the relationship. Therefore, he has no reason to fall into dramas. It's also important to dispel the illusion that a woman doesn't understand what she's doing, that she unknowingly destroys your relationship. Men in such situations often deceive themselves by thinking the woman is inexperienced, emotional, or has the mind of a teenager, or that she has such a character or is very stubborn. I especially love when they say she is very principled. In other words, a man invents 1,000 foolish things to justify a woman's inappropriate and brazen behavior, because at the same time he deceives himself by thinking that deep down the woman still loves him. Naturally, all of this is complete nonsense. Of course, later on, the man realizes all of this. And what does he do then? Ideally, it would be nice to see some Hollywood scenario where the man gathers all his strength and courage, stands by his principles, and starts ignoring the woman. But in most cases, that doesn't happen. In most cases, the man panics and tries to find some tool to instill the fear of losing him in the woman. Some gather all their strength and try to make the woman jealous. Some start bluffing with ultimatums saying, either reconcile with me now or forget me forever. I swear on my mother, I will never reconcile with you again. And at that moment, you don't realize it situationally. But when you come out of that state, you will agree that all of this sounds ridiculous. And the woman laughs at it in the same way, wondering what courage you have. Therefore, none of this will work. The woman must go through certain stages, and ignoring her simply accelerates this process. I want to emphasize that proper and timely ignoring practically immediately gives the woman the feeling of losing you. In practice, there have been many cases where the man broke up with the woman first and put her in total ignore mode. As a result, within a few weeks, the woman, in a crazed state, tried to make contact. And this is a fundamentally important moment. Who puts the period? The one who leaves is on the horse. The one who is left is in uncertainty and suffers. How do you know that in your situation nothing will work without ignoring? The first scenario is when nothing can be resolved by talking to the woman. When any type of relationship discussion turns into noise and chaos, she makes demands and fills with negative emotions. When you see that the woman is trying to devalue you as a person and all your investments in the relationship and blames you. Consequently, a constructive dialogue cannot take place here. The second scenario is when there is invisible uncertainty in the relationship. When the woman doesn't know what she wants, is entangled in her feelings, and is not sure if she wants the relationship. When she wants a pause, to take a break from each other for a while, to be apart, and so on. In reality, all of this acts as anesthesia for the woman. She knows exactly that you will leave her. She just hopes it will happen later, as painlessly as possible for her. The third option is when a woman openly treats you unacceptably, where even talking to her no longer makes sense. For example, when she insults you, lies to you, contacts an ex, threatens to leave, and so on. If any of these have happened in your case, it is very important to draw the right conclusions. All of this means that your chosen woman is dependent on intense romantic emotions, which are no longer present in your relationship. She vitally needs a hefty dose of dopamine and oxytocin. If all of that were present, believe me, she would be satisfied, compliant, caring, and so on. Naturally, she would be eager for intimate closeness with you. You might have noticed that even intimacy has not been as passionate lately as it used to be. This is the number one proof that there is a problem in the woman's biochemical structure. Proof number 2, many of you might have had a so-called farewell meeting, farewell closeness, farewell dialogue. When you are breaking up and you seemingly let her go, you would notice that at that moment the woman softens. She becomes more gentle, gets emotional, and hugs you. In other words, as soon as you slightly increase the distance, as soon as you let go of the role of saving the relationship, as soon as you give a reason for dramatization, as soon as she senses that you are parting forever, as soon as she imagines that you will someday be happy with another woman, at that very moment, she receives a small hormonal dose that momentarily changes her situational feelings and behavior model. It is clear that this dose is enough only for a short time, but the essence is what matters here. You have seen all of this with your own eyes, which I am now discussing. So stop perceiving the woman as if she were your relative or friend with whom you have a fair relationship, where you shake hands and make agreements. It doesn't work that way. A relationship with such a woman is always and entirely about emotions and nothing else. Emotions are hormones. And in order for hormones to be released, the creation of appropriate situational conditions is necessary. After hearing all of this, men often have questions like, does she love me? Or did she ever love me? These are incorrectly formulated questions. You should ask the following question. What conditions should I create for this particular woman to experience sharp and intense emotions towards me? Let me give you an example to make the mechanical logic of all this easier to understand. About a month ago, a man wrote to me. He had a so-called long-distance relationship. He hadn't met the woman yet. He lives in New York, and she is in California. But despite that, they have been in close contact for quite a long time. He tells me that it might sound unserious, but he specifically wants to connect his entire life with this woman, yet she doesn't want to move to New York, and what should he do? When I delved into the details, I naturally explained why nothing good would come out of all that. So, for several months, he has been trying to convince the woman with various arguments as to why she should come, that she wouldn't need to work, he would treat her like a queen, pamper her, take care of her, and so on. The woman has discussed all this with her friends and parents, but despite all that, nothing was working out. Yes, all of that is good, but I don't know, something internally is holding me back, the woman would say. In short, we decided not to talk to the woman about all this for a week. We should just have warm and loving conversations. Then, gradually, adequately and delicately, we would revisit the topic. And when the woman refuses again, you take a pause and don't respond. A few hours later, you send her a voice message saying the following, that she is a very important and precious person to you, that you really wanted your story to have a good continuation, but it seems it wasn't meant to be. Therefore, you have made a firm decision not to torment her or yourself anymore. Period. Done. Then you neither open nor read her message. A few weeks later, the man tells me, how did you know? The woman is begging me to give her a chance. She wants to come. She is ready to move to New York, and now she realizes she can't live without me. Tender-hearted men think such things are miraculous. For me, or my friends, or the channel's subscribers who are somewhat versed in this matter, it's a banal phenomenon, because one has to be extremely tender-hearted to believe in such nonsense as, we are two mature individuals who know what we want in life. That's exactly why you should wait for the woman to be ready to make some decisions. You should help the woman sort out her emotions. You need to delve into her childhood fears and traumas, and so on. This is what infantile romantics engage in. Those who are detached from reality and don't even want to open their eyes. Does all this mean that I am urging you to create a family using such methods? No, of course not. I am simply showing you the mechanism, that for a large part of women, this is the most effective approach. Therefore, you have only two options. Either you thoroughly understand all this and take responsibility for all the risks that await you in a family relationship with such a woman, or you look for a woman in the minority who is not dependent on emotions. And I know what you're thinking now, but believe me, if your ex wasn't dependent on emotions, she wouldn't have left you. In short, let's move on to ignoring. In the paid video course, since I explain in maximum detail, I have divided the emotional component of ignoring a woman into 6 stages. Here, without going into too much detail, let's break it down into 4 stages. The first stage is indifference or surprise. At this stage, a woman might text you asking what's going on, why you're silent, if something upset you, and so on. The second stage is anger, where she might text you with questions like, why aren't you responding? Is this some kind of kindergarten? Answer my question. I'm writing to you about something important. You're not responding, right? Fine, then take care. This is an attempt to demonstrate how much she doesn't care. Naturally, she wants to play this scenario to her advantage, but she won't succeed if you ignore her and don't respond. The third stage is bargaining. Here, she might like your photo, or wish you a happy birthday, or even send you a neutral message as if nothing happened. She'll find a convincing reason to contact you. The fourth stage is direct emotional repentance. I'm sorry, I was stupid. I want to see you. Please respond. Every ignore scenario is unique, with different stages lasting for varying periods and eliciting different reactions from the woman at each stage. Some remain completely silent like a partisan until the final stage. 2 factors influence all of this: the woman's psychological type and the stage and manner in which you initiated the ignore. We can't discuss every scenario, so I'll focus on the most classic version. In the first stage, the woman might not even realize you're ignoring her. She likely perceives it as you being upset or sulking. She'll sulk for a while and then text you herself because similar things have happened before. Typically, after 3 to 4 weeks, or at most a month and a half, this illusion will disappear from her mind. She's curious about what's happening with you. You're behaving unusually. Maybe you've made some decision. No, you can't do that. You've shown a lack of principles and weakness for a long time, so she still doesn't believe it. She probably thinks you have someone else now, so stay with your new fling. But maybe it's that girl who was flirting with you back then. Or maybe you've reconciled with an ex. Is it that blonde colleague of yours? I hope you understand that at this stage, the woman starts thinking and guessing and naturally monitoring you. This is already a certain emotional investment on her part. Then comes the anger stage, where she tries to provoke you. She might become active on social media, post happy photos with wise quotes, try to provoke your jealousy, and do similar things. I hope you understand why she's doing all this. She wants reassurance that you're more affected than she is, and that's enough for her to let go. If she gets that proof, all her feelings will subside immediately. With this logic on one hand, she tries to provoke you so you suffer, and on the other hand, even at this stage, she doubts her chosen behavior strategy. In the past, a woman's distancing, escalating situations, being offended, or even ignoring you worked well on you when she responded to you with pauses. She saw that all this made you anxious, and you would try to get closer to her. I understand that it's very difficult to believe this because temptations are pressing. You are ready to attribute a woman's manipulative behavior to anything, that she is going through a difficult life stage, that her friends turned her against you, or that the movement of planets caused electromagnetic fluctuations that influenced her. No, she treats everyone with the same arrogance and boldness. That's just how she was born. You invent all this to avoid facing reality. The reality is that you were soft and unprincipled with yourself first and foremost. That's exactly why the woman folded you and played with you. So now don't be surprised if the woman is silently ignoring you, because she believes that you will come to her on your knees and beg her to reconcile. And you are to blame for this. You created this impression of yourself in her mind with your wrong actions. That's exactly why she isn't afraid to provoke you vulgarly into jealousy. You will find some cosmic explanation for that too, and forgive her. She simply wants to stress you out, to break you again and make you swallow it all again. But if none of this happens, if you don't break, if you continue to ignore her. A few months pass, and sooner or later the woman concludes that maybe you aren't as naive as she imagined. Maybe your kindness towards her was your strength and not a weakness. Notice that now the woman starts assigning value to all the good things you did for her in the past. I hope you understand the principle. Kindness is the prerogative of a strong person. You endured humiliation. You reconciled after her manipulative behavior. You weren't strict with yourself, and you weren't involved in raising the woman. And the woman perceives all this as weakness. And you have to admit that you weren't strong. You were always deceiving yourself, always inventing some idiotic explanations for why you should swallow that nonsense and why you should let it go. So the thing is, now the woman starts deceiving herself, because now emotions are pressing on her. Now she tries to justify you and sees you as strong. You just switched roles. Nothing special happened. Earlier you were deceiving yourself. Now she is deceiving herself. That's exactly why nothing good will come out of your relationship. You are building your relationship entirely on illusions and self-deception, based on the fluctuations of neurotransmitter hormones. In short, let's return to ignoring. After all this, the woman moves to the bargaining stage. This is the stage where the woman realizes that playing hard to get and being arrogant no longer influences you. As a result, she starts bargaining with herself. Should I write to him? No, if I write, I'll devalue myself. Maybe it's still better to write. No, I don't want to. Let me first like his photo. If anything, I'll say I clicked it by accident. Or I'll say the cat ran across the keyboard and accidentally liked it. The point is that a woman's pride prevents her from simply standing before you and apologizing for what she did. I mean a sincere apology. Even at this stage, even after so many months, she is not sure that you deserve such good treatment. She still has doubts. There can be provocations here too, but in most cases they are of a positive nature, aimed more at bringing you closer. A certain period passes, and only then does the woman reach an emotional state where she apologizes to you. As for the most common mistakes men make during the process of ignoring, the first thing you need to understand is that ignoring is a battle, and the battle is with yourself, not with the woman. The woman has nothing to do with it. The woman is as she is. You must be able to resist all temptations and not deceive yourself. Consequently, point number 2, if you think you don't have the courage to ignore, it's better not to start, because you'll make it worse. Point number 3, during the process of ignoring, you don't need to provoke. Point number 4, under no circumstances should you start a new relationship until you're torn apart over your ex. That won't help you. On the contrary, it will make things worse for both you and the woman. Point number 5, you will inevitably be tempted to break the silence and make contact. You will definitely get the impression that the woman doesn't care about you at all. You will have the illusion that you should write to her, and then you'll feel relieved. Point number 6, there is no need to analyze the woman's life to check if ignoring is working, because the whole burden of ignoring will fall on you. Point number 7, don't contact her friends or mutual acquaintances. Don't talk about your situation with anyone. The question often arises, why is ignoring necessary? Why can't you sit down and talk with the woman like two mature people? I'll explain why it can't be done. Separation is always a situation where one side is at fault. It practically never happens that two people sit down, talk, agree, and decide to separate civilly. That is inherently a lie. Even if it appears that way from the outside, the internal mood is always as follows. One side doesn't care at all, while the other is in a lot of pain. Such a thing doesn't exist, because couples always have a certain psychological responsibility towards each other. They promised each other things, swore, made plans. They also had grievances against each other, and suddenly they separate. That resembles a battle, a deadly battle, and inevitably one side is left alone with unbearable pain. At this point, nothing helps them. Neither conversation nor a psychologist. They are doomed to that pain. Ultimately, separation is about determining the guilty party. It is very rare for someone to genuinely say, "I thought about it for a long time and concluded that we should break up because I am a bad person and treat you poorly." In most cases, people do this for personal enjoyment. For example, a man tells his wife that he treats her badly and she deserves better, so he should leave. Then suddenly, you see he has run off to his lover. In reality, he doesn't regret anything. He's just getting rid of his wife so he can quickly run to his lover and enjoy the process. This is just a situational example. In almost every situation, most people behave this way, regardless of gender. Everywhere you look, people deceive themselves, and contradictory things happen everywhere. That's why you have two paths. One is to follow a woman like a puppy, hoping she'll throw you a bone. The other is to ignore the woman and fight yourself, your weaknesses. But the fact is that neither path will relieve you of those feelings and pain right now. You will inevitably suffer. I'll tell you more. You are obligated to suffer because you are weak. Therefore, the path you choose will determine whether you become stronger or remain in the same weak and pathetic state. The choice is yours. And whatever happens, don't blame anyone else. Everything will be your fault and your achievement. Toward the end of this video, I'll tell you the following. Every man, without exception, who has fully followed the total ignore scenario already doubted whether they wanted a relationship with that woman. Most naturally refuse to renew the relationship. And this happens when the woman is begging for forgiveness. I understand that you can't even imagine a woman begging you and you sincerely refusing her. But that's how it works. Despite having a closed video course on total ignore where everything is discussed in much more detail, I recommend first exploring other video courses. Everything about women or the relationship manager, to better understand the limbic system of a woman, the mechanism of a woman's actions.